I finished Far Cry 6 earlier this month and I've clocked over 60 hours in game, which to be honest is probably an unhealthy amount of time to play a game in a few weeks. I'm going to timestamp the video because I have a feeling it might be kinda long, so if you want to skip to the parts you're interested in, or just watch the whole video, that would be nice. In this section I'll be giving a general synopsis for the game, so if you already know, just skip to the time on your screen. Disclaimer before I start, I played as the female Danny, so you may hear me use she/her pronouns, just so you know I'm referring to Danny. Far Cry 6 is set in the fictional country of Yara, run by a grueling dictator, Gustavo Fring. You play as Danny Rojas, who joins a revolution group known as the Libtard. You go around Yara recruiting smaller revolution groups, taking on El Presidente's army and high-ranking members until you earn your way to face Castillo and his son. All caught up, let's talk about the game. The gameplay is nothing short of fantastic. It's very reminiscent of Far Cry 3. The whole game gives off major Far Cry 3 vibes. The tropical setting, the cars, the music, the enemies. The gameplay is very Far Cry. It's nothing that will blow your mind, it doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it is really fun. The gunplay is the best it's ever been. The arsenal of weapons is huge and varied. The movement is really nice and the driving is nothing short of perfect. Right, let's talk about the guns. You have all your standard FPS weapons like shotguns, pistols, assault rifles, so on and so forth. But a very welcome addition is Juan's Resolver weapons. Whilst not all of them are great, most of them are pretty goddamn fun to use and really unique. There's flamethrowers, massive fuck-off machine guns, nail guns, and a CD launcher that apparently kills people, and it plays the Macarena, so that's kinda cool.
Something is out there.
It's a really nice addition and adds to the goofy tone of the game. There's workbenches that allow you to upgrade your weapons extensively, just like the gunsmith in COD pretty much. Throughout the map you can find unique weapons in crates like fire pistols or really powerful and cool looking weapons. One small complaint about the gunplay is the ammo types. For some reason in this game there are different ammo types with different types of enemies, because there's certain enemies that are more susceptible to certain ammo types than others. This isn't inherently bad, but to change the ammo type you have to pause and then go into your arsenal and change the ammo type there. What would have been better if you could change it on the fly, like in your weapon wheel. Overall the gunplay is really nice and so much better than Far Cry 5. Far Cry 5 just felt too goofy and floaty. I don't know why. Weapons didn't really pack a punch, and throwing shovels at people's heads and killing them was kind of dumb. But I think Far Cry 6 draws a perfect line between gritty realism and cartoony fun. Enemies are a bit dumb, which makes stealth all too easy, but once they spot you, Castillo's army are a really good shot, and you'll heal a lot in this game. You don't have much health really. Combat can be quite challenging at times, especially if you're on the action mode, because there's a story mode and an action mode. Story mode is easier and action mode is harder, but action mode, it wasn't really that hard. Like I died quite a few times, but not to the point where I was like pissed off at the game. Far Cry 5 and New Dawn's recruit system returns in a fashion here. Instead of bringing people along with you on missions, you have amigos. These are animals that will help you in combat. Firstly, there's Guapo, a blood-hungry crocodile. He's brutal and awesome. There's Chorizo, a disabled dog who distracts your enemies so you can savagely murder them. There's Chicaron, who basically kind of pecks people to death. I don't know, I've used him like once. Boomer the dog makes his return from Far Cry 5, this time as Boom Boom. He gathers supplies and stuff. He's probably the worst. He sits in your car with you, and that's kind of cool. And there's Eluso, a stealth lethal panther. She's probably my favourite. I really like the amigo system and I only wish there was more of them for how huge the map is. There are some more amigos with the season pass, but I haven't bought the season pass. If it seems like fucking 32 quid, mate, no chance. And I wasn't going to spend 80 quid or 90 quid at launch. Games are expensive enough anyway. 60 quid for a goddamn game. Fucking stupid, man. Sorry, I went on a bit of a fucking rant there, didn't I? Christ. Right, let's discuss the driving. As I mentioned, the driving is one of my favourite driving systems in video games ever. It's really nice and smooth, and each vehicle handles differently. In terms of vehicles, there's nice range, however I don't think there's as many as there could be. I was disappointed when I realised I had every non-military vehicle like halfway through the game. There's a few cars that are just reskins of one another, however there are some really nice and unique vehicles. There's a hovercraft amphibious vehicle thing, works well on water, not so well on land. There's a tuk-tuk. And my personal favourite, the flying dune buggy. This thing's fucking awesome, man. Defies the laws of physics, but it's fun. Planes and helicopters are kind of shit to fly. They really need to improve the controls. There's now a ride system, You can have up to 4 unlockable rides that are upgraded with turrets, defences, paint, wheels and even the horn. The 4 to choose from are pretty varied and you can change them at any time. One feature that was in previous Far Cry games that's not in this one is the skill tree. I'm quite a fan of skill trees in games. I really love levelling up my character and striving towards something in the game. Point is, I love skill trees and I'm disappointed it's not in this game. For some reason Ubisoft attached perks to clothing. I hate when games do this, just let us upgrade my character without simultaneously changing my drip. There is a bright side to this though. You can change the appearance of each clothing item to look like another, whilst keeping the perk attached to that item. I hope that makes sense, but I doubt it. This makes the perk clothing thing a bit more bearable, but it's still fucking stupid. You can pick your headwear, top, trousers, wristwear and shoes. So what you have now is basically a pick 5 system. Instead of your gameplay and your character development as the story progresses, you get a handful of perks. Most clothes you can get using pesos, so theoretically, you could run about the map collecting pesos and buy the perks you want, instead of gaining perks by actually doing what the game has to offer. The whole perk system is really frustrating because Far Cry 3 married progression and character development excellently. The game manages to do this better than any other game ever. If the Far Cry 6 developers had just taken a page out of Far Cry 3's book instead of trying to do something different, I'm sure the perks feature would have been much better implemented. Far Cry 6 added something brand new to the franchise. Third person. Your Danny is now in third person when in some camps. I don't know why, but it's kind of cool. It also goes third person in cutscenes, which is a really nice change, makes them look much better. Unfortunately, it's missing when it comes to driving, which is kind of a bummer. There's also a rank system. It only serves to tell you whether you're good enough to go into a certain area or not. It doesn't do much else except unlock a few weapons. And that about covers everything worth mentioning gameplay wise. I'm going to start by saying I played this on Xbox One X at 1080p because my stupid fucking TV didn't support 4K. Right, the graphics are a bit hit and miss. The game looks gorgeous, the sunrise and sunsets are amazing. The water looks really nice though, the effects, they don't look as great. People don't look too bad, if not a bit waxy. Where the graphics fall apart is the textures. Up close, most surfaces look really bad. There's a lack of detail. Like when you walk onto a muddy path or beach, they don't even leave a footprint. It's little graphical details like this that make a game seem a whole lot more realistic. Or maybe I've just come to expect too much post Red Dead 2. I swear to God that game is real life. There's no way they made that on a fucking computer. The graphics are just average, I would say. I would expect graphics like that in 2018 or 19 maybe. But in 2021 I'll probably expect a little bit more. I can't quite pinpoint what's wrong about the graphics. It's a shame because they could have been amazing. I also wish cutscenes look a bit better. They aren't bad per se, I just can't quite put my finger on why they don't look as good as they could have. Otherwise, technically, Far Cry 6 misses the mark. Even a month and a half after release, there's a fair few bugs. There's a bunch of rendering issues where textures will load right in front of you, like an early 2000s game or Cyberpunk. At some points, the game is frozen just to load some textures. This has happened far too many times. In about 2 hours, I counted over 6 times it's happened. There was also a bug where my menu cursor wouldn't leave my screen, and this game has a serious population rendering problem. The problem is there are no crowds. The game feels empty. It's like there are very few actual civilians driving and walking about. I've heard people make the excuse of, there's no people about because they're all in slave camps and they're all making Viviro. Well, it's not that, because even at the Viviro camps, there's no one there. There's very few prisoners and shit actually there, so I don't get the population problem. I was really looking forward to going to Esperanza, the capital city. I was expecting massive crowds and revolutions. What I got was empty streets with the occasional guard. This really hurt the theme of the game in my opinion. It's meant to be about revolution, but it seems like there was no one there to revolt. I would understand the constant texture popping and rendering issues if the game looked absolutely fucking breathtaking, but the graphics are average, so I don't get it. To me, the game seems a little bit rushed. It could have had a few more months in the oven to get these issues sorted. It just seems like all games nowadays come out unfinished. First and foremost, the map is huge. Apparently it's the biggest map Ubisoft have ever made. I was sceptical when I first heard about this, but I'm happy to report it's brilliant. They've done a good job of making it feel big but not too unmanageable. It's separated into 3 main areas, Valle de Oro, El Este and Madrugada. I'll talk more about it later, but in each area there's a different group that you have to recruit to Libertad. The group's missions are restricted to that one area, which is still not small, but it helps you to discover the map while you progress through the story. Obviously you can go off, like there's nothing to say you can't go straight to Esperanza. This is where the rank system comes into play. Each area is assigned with a certain rank to say maybe don't go here because you might get fucked up. But to me, I think they should have just opened it up right away and let you discover it how you want, instead of putting everything behind ranks, and I don't like the rank system. All the map, it looks pretty similar. If you showed me a screenshot of somewhere in Aleste and somewhere in Validaro, I probably wouldn't be able to tell which one was which. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, because Far Cry 6 wasn't going for the whole biome approach to the map, I don't think. It is meant to be one cohesive map, which to me makes more sense than having one area that's bright and sunny and another 2 minutes away that's fucking covered in snow and shit. So I appreciate the world design choice of Ubisoft. A problem that I have with the map is the lack of towns and cities. I wish there was more of that. I wanted to see more hustle and bustle. There could have been a secret village for people who have escaped Castile's slave camps, etc. Why the fuck did I say etc? I just wish there was more to break up the miles and miles of open road. Don't get me wrong, there were some towns and stuff, I just wish there was more. Let's talk about content. There's quite a lot of shit to do in the game. You can fish, you can hunt and like sell them for pesos. There's interceptions where you tune into an enemy broadcast and steal some supplies. Those missions are actually really fun, I do like them. There's racing and driving mini games, cockfighting, treasure hunts that can lead to some really nice unlocks. And there's ambushes, the list goes on. There's side missions called Yaren stories that are actually pretty good. There's now anti-aircraft bases where your objective is to get rid of the anti-aircraft cannons so you can fly around Yara without being shot down. You can also get uranium from these bases that can be used to make resolver weapons. There's also the standard Far Cry outposts. They're okay, I guess. Once you've cleared it out, you can buy weapons from there. It's like it becomes your base of operations. Then there's checkpoints, which are kind of disappointing. They're basically like outposts, but there's also a billboard that you have to shoot down as well. Once it's cleared, you can drive through no problem. Unless you've cleared it, you can't drive through, because Castillo's army have put spikes up to stop you getting through. Where the disappointment lies for me is the wasted potential. Yeah, it's okay to go in and shoot a few guys and the checkpoint's yours. I would have liked something a bit more complex. The whole point of that checkpoints are explained in the beginning. They're used to check people's documents and shit, and check if everything's okay for them to go through. I thought the guards would check your documents or whatever. It could have worked like in Red Dead Online, where you approach a checkpoint and then your vehicle's searched and have to check your papers and that, and there's a coin toss to see whether you're allowed through or not. It doesn't make sense at the start of the game because you shouldn't really be recognised by the military because, minor spoilers, they think you died on that boat at the start. This section's going to be quite brief, so I won't get too far into spoilers. I'm mainly going to talk about the narrative structure and how it impacts the experience. Once you join Libertad, Clara, the leader, asks you to go to the mainland and take back Yara. You won't spend a lot of time with Clara. Most of your conversation with her will be over the phone after the first 2 hours of the game. It's really confusing to me because Danny talks about Clara as if they've known each other their whole lives. We as the player don't get to know Clara enough to care about her. We'll get hints at her backstory, but nothing cements the bond between Danny and Clara. Right, let's talk about Danny. I think she might be my favourite Far Cry protagonist ever, just topping Far Cry 3's Jason Brody. Not that I don't like Jason Brody, I do like his story and his development. I know he's meant to be a prick. He was too much of a prick for me. There's no redeeming trait, he was just a fucking psychopath. But I do prefer Danny over Jason Brody. Fuck. I'm trying to not offend Far Cry 3 fanboys. Danny she's a really unique character. She's smart, she's strong, empathetic and funny, and she's really strong-willed. I'm also glad she gets a valid backstory for being so proficient with guns. Because so many games have a protagonist that have never used a gun before, and somehow, all of a sudden, they're fucking brilliant at handling guns. What the fuck is that all about? A really nice detail about Danny is she sings along to certain songs when they come on the radio.
Welcome to Miami.
I just wish we learned even more about her throughout the story because she only lets her guard down and has a heart-to-heart on one occasion in the story. I'm going to talk about the 3 revolution groups in the order I tackled them. First there was the Monteros and Madrugada. This for me was the weakest of the 3. The characters were a bit generic. I was just starting to warm up to Carlos Montero when he, spoiler alert, dies. The rest of the characters in that area were just a bit shit really. Each of the 3 sections of the map has a villain or 2 as well. Madrugada had Anton's nephew, Jose. He doesn't really get much development and is kind of generic. I don't think the story would have been much different without him. His only real discernible character trait is he's smart and brutal. Shit, that's 2. Next I went to El Este, where you meet the legends of 67. The leader of the group, El Tigre, is a really great character. It's a shame he also, spoiler warning, dies. My only problem with the whole group was the amount of characters that you're introduced to. I was fine meeting the legends, it's only LT Grey that gets any character development, the rest of them are just shit. But there's also another group that joined the mix later called Le Moral, and then there's more people in there and that you're meant to care about, and I just didn't, because there was so many fucking characters that I was meant to care about that I just didn't. I just wish they left it with the Legends of 67 instead of Le Moral, because Le Moral are kind of shit. I don't know why they brought them in. The villains of LSD are Admiral Benitez and McKay. McKay is brilliant, he's sarcastic, funny, and I wish he was on screen more, because you don't even get a cutscene involved in it until about halfway through the LSD stuff. Spoiler warning, there's also a really nice choice where you get to kill him or let him live and take his money. I took the money because I'm a greedy bastard, and I was kind of hoping I would see more of his character if I let him live. That wasn't the case. Admiral Benitez, on the other hand, is fucking god-awful. She's introduced in one cutscene, and you kill her in the follow-up mission. I wish I was joking. I also kind of cheesed the mission where you kill her because I used the wall hack Supremo. Really shit character, and she could have been left out and it wouldn't have made a difference. The final and best group by far is Maximus Matanzas. I'm glad I left them till last, because the missions are fucking great. For some reason, like, all of the cinematic missions are jam-packed into Valle d'Oro. There's even a mission where you're in third person. Ooh. All of the characters in this group are great. And Bebe might be a franchise favourite character of mine. He's fucking amazing. Valle d'Oro's villain, it's just kind of shit. She could have been left out. Apparently she was Diego's mother. The villain in this game is maybe as good as Vass. I might go as far to say, in some cases, he might even be better. Giancarlo Esposito plays Anton Castillo perfectly. Esposito is a fucking genius. If he doesn't win some kind of award for this game, there's something seriously wrong. He's so captivating to the point I was like sympathising with him and shit. Like, fucking amazing. If you thought the insanity speech from Vass was good, Gus has like so many monologues and memorable lines. A few might rival the insanity speech, but not quite. The insanity speech is writing at its fucking finest. Castillo has the fish speech.
And we would catch the fish and then release them.
The Viviro speech.
Viviro saves millions of lives. Do you think that those lives care where it comes from?
And my personal favourite, the mother speech. I'm just going to play the scene in its entirety for you because it's fucking incredible, man.
Hello? Your mother is dead.
And Diego, Anton's son, is played expertly by Anthony Gonzalez. The motion capture, the voice acting, it's all incredible. He truly plays a boy struggling to find his grasp on the world and find his sense of morality. He doesn't know what he believes, like the tyrannical ways of his father or the omnipresent revolution against it. Look at me using fucking big words. When Diego and Anton are on screen together, it's fucking breathtaking. I was looking forward to seeing Giancarlo Esposito's presence, but I didn't expect to like Diego's just as much. The dynamic between them is uncomfortable and unstable in the best possible way. I couldn't wait to see another cutscene of the two. I've seen some complaints that he's not in the game enough and he doesn't interact with Danny enough. I agree that he isn't in the game that much, and I would have liked to see even more of him and Diego. But the interaction with Danny doesn't bother me because a leader like Cassidy wouldn't face some fucking libtard member, would he? He hides behind his military and everyone else, and I don't think that complaint's valid. If there was too much of him, people would say the game was riding entirely on the back of Gus Fring. But the gameplay is so good and the characters are so strong, without him, he didn't even need to be in every single cutscene. Plus, he probably cost a monkey fortune. So what did I think of the game overall? Well, it's kind of excellent. It isn't perfect, nowhere near, but it's an excellent entry in the franchise, closely following Far Cry 3. There's a few questionable choices gameplay-wise, like things in the perk system, and the lack of the skill tree. The cast of characters is a bit too large, and it would have been nice if it had been reduced a little bit. I'm going to give Far Cry 6 an 8 out of 10. That's it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for sticking around. I know it's been a long one. The script is 8 pages long, and it's taken me a while to compile this review. So if you have enjoyed, please consider subscribing. It would mean a lot. I'll see you later. Ta-ra.